I was 9 months pregnant when my boyfriend finally told me he couldn't be at the birth. Because he's actually married with 3 kids and his wife just found out about me. I was folding tiny onesies when Marcus called. 9 months pregnant. Due in 11 days. Nursery finally finished, painted soft yellow because we wanted to be surprised. I answered on the second ring, smiling, ready to ask if he'd picked up the car seat like he promised. I can't be at the birth. I laughed. Actually laughed. What are you talking about? Marcus, the hospital bag is packed. You helped me pack it. Silence. The kind that makes your blood cool. My wife found out. About you. About the baby. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The onesie slipped out of my hands. Wife. The word didn't compute. It bounced around my skull like a foreign object, something that couldn't possibly belong in the sentence he'd just spoken. You're what? I have a wife. Her name is Denise. We've been married for 12 years. We have 3 kids. She found the ultrasound photo in my jacket and God, she's destroyed. I have to try to fix my family. I have to choose them. I lowered myself onto the edge of the bed because my legs stopped working. My hand went to my stomach, to our daughter, to the baby I'd been growing for 9 months with a man who apparently had an entire other life I knew nothing about. You're lying. My voice came out as a whisper. This is some kind of sick joke. I wish it was. I'm sorry, Jenna. I never meant for it to go this far. I never meant to fall for you. But I have kids. 3 kids who need their father. And Denise. She's giving me one chance to make this right. I can't throw that away. I started shaking. Full body tremors, like I was standing naked in a snowstorm. We've been together for 2 years, Marcus. 2 years. You've slept in my bed. You've held my hand at every doctor's appointment. You picked out her name. You said you wanted to marry me? I know. His voice cracked. I know what I said. And I meant it in the moment, I did. But I was living in a fantasy. I was selfish. I was so selfish, and now everyone is paying for it. Everyone except him. That's what I realized even in that moment, even as my world collapsed in real time. He was going home to his wife, to his real family, to his 3 kids who actually had a father. And I was going to give birth alone to a baby who would grow up knowing her father chose to abandon her before she even took her first breath. How? I managed to choke out. How did I not know? He told me. And every word was a knife. The business trips that were actually family vacations. The late nights at the office that were actually dinner at home with his wife. The reason he could never sleep over on weekends, never spend Christmas morning with me, never meet my family. The phone he kept on silent, the second phone I never knew existed, the one that was actually his real phone where his real wife and real children could reach him. I thought he was a workaholic. I thought he was dedicated. I thought his long hours and constant travel meant he was building something for our future. But he wasn't building anything. He was maintaining 2 lives like some kind of con artist, and I was too stupid and too in love to see it. The ultrasounds, I said, my voice hollow. You came to every single one. You cried when we found out she was a girl. I did. That was real. My feelings for you were real. But not real enough to tell me the truth. I was going to. I swear I was going to. I just kept waiting for the right time and then you were pregnant and I couldn't. I couldn't ruin it. I thought maybe I could figure something out. Maybe I could leave Denise eventually, start over with you and the baby. But she found out before I could. Before you could what? Before you could keep lying to everyone? Before you could destroy even more lives? He didn't answer. He didn't have an answer. Because there was no good ending to this story, and we both knew it. He built a house of cards with 2 families inside it, and his wife had just blown it down. I hung up. Then I threw up. Then I sat on my bathroom floor for 3 hours, holding my pregnant belly, apologizing to my unborn daughter for the father I'd chosen for her. For the man I'd trusted completely. For the lie I'd been living without even knowing it was a lie. I went through my phone that night. Every picture, every text, every memory. Looking for signs I'd missed. Looking for the red flags everyone says are always there. They were there. God, they were everywhere. The fact that he never added me on social media. He said he didn't believe in it, said it was toxic, said he preferred to live in the real world. I thought it was refreshing. I thought it was mature. But he wasn't avoiding social media. He was avoiding his wife seeing me. He was avoiding anyone connecting the dots. The way he always paid in cash. Always. I thought he was old-fashioned. He said he didn't trust credit card companies, didn't want them tracking his purchases. But credit card statements go home. Credit card statements have restaurant names and hotel charges and jewelry store purchases. Cash disappears. Cash keeps secrets. His apartment. The apartment where we spent most of our time together. Minimalist, he called it. Clean and simple. No photos on the walls, no personal touches, nothing that made it feel like a home. Because it wasn't his home. It was a stage. A movie set where he played the role of devoted boyfriend while his real life happened somewhere else. I'd been sleeping with someone else's husband for 2 years. I'd gotten pregnant by someone else's husband. I was about to give birth to a baby whose father had 3 other children, 3 children who probably just found out their dad had been living a double life. I thought about his wife that night. Denise. A woman I'd never met, never known existed, a woman who'd probably been folding laundry or cooking dinner when she found that ultrasound photo. What did she feel? Did her world collapse the same way mine did? Did she sit on her bathroom floor and wonder how she'd missed the signs? She probably blamed me. She probably thought I knew. She probably pictured me as some homewrecker who'd seduced her husband, some villain who'd deliberately destroyed her family. How could she know I was just as blindsided as she was? How could she know I was a victim too? Except I wasn't entirely a victim. Was I? That's the part I couldn't escape. The part that kept me up every night during those final 11 days before my due date. The part that made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. Because looking back with clear eyes instead of eyes clouded by love, there were moments I should have pushed harder. Moments I should have demanded more. Moments where my gut was screaming that something was wrong and I told it to shut up because I didn't want to hear it. The first time I asked to meet his family, he deflected. Said they were complicated, said they lived far away, said it was too soon. That was 3 months in. I let it go. 6 months in, I asked again. He said his mom was sick, said it wasn't a good time, said we'd do it eventually. I let it go. A year in, I stopped asking. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself our relationship was about us, not about families and holidays and all the traditional stuff. I was modern. I was independent. I didn't need to meet his family to know he loved me. But normal people introduce you to their families. Normal people bring you home for Christmas. Normal people don't keep the person they love in a separate box, hidden from everyone else in their life. I knew something was off. Somewhere deep down, in a place I refused to acknowledge, I knew. But I chose not to see it. I chose to believe his explanations because believing them was easier than facing the alternative. I chose comfort over truth, and now I was paying for it. My water broke on a Tuesday at 3 a.m. I drove myself to the hospital. Alone. 9 months of planning, of dreaming, of imagining Marcus holding my hand while I pushed our daughter into the world, and I drove myself to the hospital like I was picking up groceries. The nurses kept asking where my support person was. I said he was on his way. Then I said he was stuck in traffic. Then I stopped answering. Then I just cried. 26 hours of labor. 26 hours of the worst pain I've ever felt, physically and emotionally. 26 hours of pushing a baby into the world while knowing her father was at home with his real family, probably trying to convince his wife that I meant nothing. That we meant nothing. Lily was born at 5:47 a.m. on a Wednesday. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Perfect. Beautiful. Innocent. I held her in my arms and I made her a promise. I promised I would never lie to her. I promised I would never keep secrets from her. I promised I would be enough, that I would be mother and father, that I would give her so much love she'd never feel the absence of him. But even as I made that promise, I knew it was one I couldn't fully keep. Because someday she'd ask about her father. Someday she'd want to know who he was, why he wasn't there, why she had siblings she'd never met. And I'd have to tell her the truth. That her father was a liar. That her mother was a fool. That she was born into a mess created by 2 adults who should have known better. Marcus texted me once. 3 days after Lily was born. Congratulations. I hope she's healthy. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I didn't respond. What was there to say? A month later, his wife found me. Denise. She showed up at my apartment with red eyes and shaking hands and 12 years of rage she needed to put somewhere. I let her in. I deserved whatever she was about to give me. She looked at Lily sleeping in the bassinet and something in her face crumbled. She looks like him, she whispered. She has his chin. I didn't know, I said. Denise, I swear to God, I didn't know he was married. He never told me. He never wore a ring. He said he was single, said he'd never been married, said. I believe you. She cut me off, her voice flat. I've seen the texts. The ones you sent him, asking to meet his family. Asking why he couldn't spend holidays with you. You didn't know. You were just as stupid as I was. Stupid. The word hit harder than any insult she could have thrown. Because she was right. We were both stupid. Two women loving the same man, both believing his lies, both thinking we were special. He's not leaving me, she said. We're going to counseling. We're going to try to make it work. For the kids. What about Lily? Her face hardened. What about her? She's his daughter. She exists. He can't just pretend she doesn't. Denise laughed. It was the saddest sound I've ever heard. Watch him. He's very good at pretending. He pretended I didn't exist for 2 years while he played house with you. Now he's going to pretend you don't exist while he plays husband with me. That's what Marcus does. He pretends until the lies catch up, and then he runs. She left after that. And I never heard from her again. Marcus never signed the birth certificate. His lawyer sent a letter 6 weeks after Lily was born. He was willing to provide financial support, it said. A monthly amount that was generous by any standard. But he wanted no custody, no visitation, no relationship with the child. He wanted a clean break. A clean break. Like Lily was a business deal gone wrong. Like she was a loose end to tie up rather than a human being he'd helped create. I could have fought it. My lawyer said I had grounds to demand paternity testing, to force him to acknowledge her legally, to drag him into family court and make him face what he'd done. But what was the point? What would I gain by forcing a man who didn't want his daughter into her life? Weekend visits with a father who resented her existence? Birthday cards signed out of legal obligation rather than love? I took the money. I hate myself for it, but I took the money. Lily needed diapers and formula and a roof over her head, and my pride wasn't going to pay for any of that. Every month, a deposit appeared in my account. No name attached, no note, no acknowledgement. Just numbers on a screen, guilt money from a man who'd rather pay than parent. The loneliness of those first few months was suffocating. I'd imagined new motherhood so differently. I'd imagined Marcus getting up for midnight feedings, imagined him falling asleep with Lily on his chest, imagined us becoming a family together. Instead, I was alone. Every feeding, every diaper, every moment of every day, alone. My mom flew in for the first 2 weeks. She didn't say I told you so, even though she'd questioned Marcus from the beginning. She'd ask why I never saw his apartment with photos in it, why he never came to Thanksgiving, why a man in his 40s had never been married before. I told her she was being paranoid. I told her she just didn't understand modern relationships. I told her Marcus was different. She held her tongue while she held her granddaughter. But I saw it in her eyes every time she looked at me. Disappointment. Not anger, not judgment, just deep, sad disappointment in a daughter who should have known better. My friends tried to be supportive. At first. They brought casseroles and offered to babysit and said all the right things about how I was strong and I'd get through this. But there was a distance now. A wall that hadn't been there before. I realized later what it was. Fear. They were afraid of me. Afraid of what I represented. Because if I could be fooled, if someone as educated and careful and skeptical as me could fall for a con man and get pregnant by someone else's husband, then it could happen to anyone. Their boyfriends could be lying. Their husbands could have secret families. The ground they thought was solid could be quicksand, just like mine. They stopped calling. One by one, the casseroles stopped coming, the babysitting offers dried up, the texts became less frequent. It wasn't dramatic. There was no big falling out, no confrontation. They just faded. Like I was a reminder of something they didn't want to think about, and it was easier to let me disappear than to keep facing it. By the time Lily was 6 months old, I was completely isolated. No partner. No friends. No support system except my mother, who lived 2,000 miles away and couldn't put her life on hold forever to clean up my mess. I started Googling him. Denise. The kids. I knew it was unhealthy, knew it was borderline obsessive, but I couldn't stop. I needed to see them. I needed to see the life that had been more real than mine, the family that had won, the people he'd chosen over his own daughter. His wife's Facebook was private, but her Instagram wasn't. I scrolled through 2 years of photos, torturing myself with every image. Family vacations. Christmas mornings. Birthday parties for 3 kids I'd never known existed. And there he was. Marcus. Smiling, laughing, being a father. Being a husband. Being everything he'd promised to be for me, but for them instead. There was a photo from what must have been right after Denise found out. A family portrait, all 5 of them, with a caption about second chances and fighting for what matters. The comments were full of heart emojis and support, people praising them for staying strong, for putting their family first. Nobody knew about me. Nobody knew about Lily. We'd been erased from the narrative entirely, written out of the story like we'd never existed. He got to be the repentant husband, the man who'd made a mistake but was working to fix it. And I got to be nothing. A ghost. A secret they'd all agreed to keep. I threw my phone across the room and scared Lily awake. Then I held her while she cried and I promised her again that I would be enough. But I didn't believe it anymore. How could I be enough when I'd already failed her so completely? The panic attacks started around month 8. I'd be fine, going through the motions of single motherhood, and then suddenly I couldn't breathe. My heart would race, my vision would narrow, and I'd be convinced I was dying right there on the floor while my baby played in her bouncer, too young to understand that her mother was falling apart. I went to therapy. The therapist said I was grieving. Not just the relationship, but the future I'd imagined. The family I thought I was building. The person I thought I was. You were a victim of manipulation, she said. You need to stop blaming yourself. But I couldn't. Because victims don't ignore red flags. Victims don't choose not to see. I'd had chances, so many chances, to dig deeper, to demand answers, to walk away when things didn't add up. And I'd stayed. I'd stayed because being loved felt better than being safe. I'd stayed because the fantasy was prettier than the questions. Lily's first birthday was the hardest day. I threw a small party. Just me, my mom, and a few neighbors I'd gotten to know in my building. There was a cake with a single candle and a pile of presents she was too young to appreciate, in a moment where I had to excuse myself to cry in the bathroom because this wasn't how it was supposed to be. He didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't send a card. His daughter turned 1 and he couldn't even acknowledge it with a single word. The money kept coming, though. Every month, like clockwork. Sometimes I fantasized about sending it back, about telling him to keep his guilt and his silence and his clean break. But I couldn't afford pride. I couldn't afford much of anything, really. Single motherhood is expensive in ways nobody tells you about. The childcare costs alone nearly bankrupted me. I had to move. The apartment I'd shared with the ghost of a relationship I'd imagined was too expensive to keep on one income. I found a smaller place in a worse neighborhood, packed up the yellow nursery I'd painted with such hope, and started over. Again. There were moments, dark moments, where I resented Lily. I hate admitting that, but it's true. I'd look at her and see him. His chin, like Denise said. His eyes. His expressions. And I'd feel this wave of anger, not at her but at the reminder she represented. The walking, talking, eventually crawling proof of the worst mistake I'd ever made. Then she'd smile at me, and the resentment would dissolve into shame. She didn't ask to be born into this. She didn't choose her father. She was innocent in every way, and she deserved a mother who could look at her without seeing baggage. I worked on it. In therapy, in my own head, in the small moments between feeding and changing and exhaustion. I worked on separating Lily from Marcus, on seeing her as her own person rather than an extension of him. It took time. More time than I'm proud of. But eventually, I got there. Mostly. Dating felt impossible. Who would want me? A single mother with an infant, a complicated baby daddy situation, and more trust issues than a lifetime of therapy could fix? I tried the apps once, around Lily's 18th month. Created a profile, swiped through faces, went on exactly one date. He was nice. Normal. Boring in the best way. And I spent the entire dinner looking for lies. Analyzing every word for inconsistencies. Wondering if his phone was silenced because he was being respectful or because his wife might call. I went home and deleted the apps. I wasn't ready. I might never be ready. Lily is 3 now. She asks about daddy sometimes. Not often, but enough that I've had to figure out what to say. The first time, I panicked. Gave some vague answer about how some kids have daddies and some don't, and she has so many people who love her. She accepted it, the way toddlers accept anything, and I thought I'd bought myself time. But kids are smart. Kids watch other families and notice differences. She sees her friends at daycare get picked up by dads, sees fathers pushing strollers at the park, sees families on TV with 2 parents and wonders why hers only has 1. I don't know how to tell her the truth. I don't know when to tell her the truth. My therapist says there's no perfect age, that I'll know when she's ready, but I don't believe her. I'll never be ready to explain that her father knew she was coming and chose to walk away. I'll never be ready to tell her she has 3 half-siblings she'll probably never meet, a stepmother who wanted her erased, a whole other family that pretends she doesn't exist. So for now, I give her half answers. For now, I hug her tight when she asks hard questions and tell her I love her enough for 2 parents. For now, I hope that love is enough. But I know it's not. Deep down, in the place where I've buried all my guilt, I know that nothing I do will ever fill the hole her father left. She'll grow up wondering. She'll grow up questioning. She'll grow up feeling like she was a mistake, even though I'll spend my whole life telling her she wasn't. That's the thing about consequences. They don't just hit you. They ripple. They spread. They touch people who had no part in your choices, who did nothing wrong, who just had the misfortune of being born to the wrong parents at the wrong time. Marcus got to go back to his life. Denise got to keep her husband. Their 3 kids get to grow up with a father who shows up to baseball games and school plays and sits at the head of the table every Christmas. And Lily gets a question she doesn't know how to ask yet, about a man she'll never really understand, and a mother who will spend the rest of her life trying to make up for something that can never be made up. I'm not the villain of this story. I know that now. I was lied to, manipulated, used. I was a placeholder, a distraction, a 2-year escape from a marriage he wasn't brave enough to leave. But I'm not innocent either. I ignored what I didn't want to see. I accepted less than I deserved because I was afraid to be alone. I brought a child into a situation that was unstable from the start, and now she's the one paying for it. If I could go back, I don't know what I'd change. Leave at the first red flag? Demand to meet his family before sleeping with him? Run a background check? None of it seems realistic. None of it seems like something real people actually do. But I should have listened to my gut. That quiet voice that said something was wrong, that this was too good and too easy and too carefully managed. I should have asked harder questions. I should have refused to keep seeing someone who kept me in a box, separate from the rest of his life, like I was something to be ashamed of. Because that's what I was to him. A shame he had to hide. A complication he hoped would never surface. And when it did surface, when the ultrasound photo fell out of his jacket and his real life finally collided with his fake one, he didn't hesitate. He chose them. He was always going to choose them. Lily is napping right now. She's in her toddler bed, surrounded by stuffed animals, peaceful in a way I haven't felt in years. When she wakes up, she'll call for me, and I'll go to her, and we'll have a snack and play with blocks and watch the same episode of Bluey we've seen 100 times. That's my life now. Small moments with a little girl who deserves the world but got me instead. Some days it feels like enough. Most days it feels like a life sentence I gave myself for a crime I didn't fully commit. I used to think the worst thing a man could do was hit you. Something visible, something obvious, something everyone would recognize as wrong. But this is worse. This quiet destruction. This careful, systematic lie that unravels your whole reality and leaves you standing in the rubble, wondering how you missed the signs, wondering how you were stupid enough to fall for it, wondering who you even are if everything you believed turned out to be fiction. He'll never face consequences. His wife will stay. His kids will forgive him. His life will go on like Lily and I were a bad dream he woke up from. And I'll be here. Raising his daughter alone. Paying for his choices with every sleepless night and every answered question and every first day of school without a father taking photos. A woman at the park asked me the other day if my husband was watching the kids while I got some me time. I laughed. Told her it was just me. She gave me that look, the one single mothers know too well. Pity mixed with relief that it's not her. I used to hate that look. Now I barely notice it. It's just part of the landscape now. Part of the world I live in, the one where I'm permanently marked as someone who made choices and had choices made for her that can never be undone. I don't write this for sympathy. I don't write it for advice. I write it because somewhere out there is a woman like me. A woman who loves a man who never quite adds up. A man who doesn't have social media, who always pays in cash, who can never spend holidays with her, who keeps her separate from every other part of his life. She's telling herself it's fine. She's telling herself he's different. She's telling herself her gut is wrong and her heart is right and love will find a way. It won't. Listen to the voice. Ask the questions. Demand the proof. And if he can't give it, if he deflects and delays and makes you feel crazy for asking, run. Run before you're 9 months pregnant and folding onesies and hearing words that rearrange everything you thought you knew. Run before you have to explain to your daughter why daddy didn't want to stay. Because the lie feels better than the truth, until it doesn't. And by then, you've built a whole life on a foundation that never existed, and you're falling, and there's nothing to grab onto, and someone small and innocent is falling with you. That's the thing nobody warns you about. When the ground disappears, you don't fall alone.